All right, so this is a tricky etude, just like all of the Karg-Elert etudes. One of the things I would always suggest that you do as you're practicing this is to start at the end and then back your way up so that you're always driving to the part of the piece you are most comfortable with. You don't want to start strong and then just get weak. You want to keep practicing towards the thing you know the best. So I would just practice the last two measures a bunch of times. And make sure that you're also playing it not only at a crisp tempo, but also the correct dynamics. Make sure that you bake those dynamics into the learning process instead of adding it later. As you see the different groupings, the 4s and the 3s leading into those last two measures, I would just disregard them and play them like even 16th notes. I think Karg-Elert's trying to tell us information about how he's grouping the notes, but they don't always make sense to us just playing it with a metronome. So go ahead and just play them as even 8th notes with that G sharp pickup to ta da 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 da. And don't forget, as you're practicing it again and again and again, put that crescendo into that so that becomes part of how you're playing. So as you're coming into that, make sure you catch that one. And then I would just gradually back up bit by bit by bit. There's a lot of different repetition exercises and games that you can do to kind of get these in your fingers. One of the things I love to do is to take groups of 2 or duples and practice them as triplets. So for the last line, the pickup into the last line, that high E, I'm looking at these groups, and again, even 16th notes, ta 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 ta, and I'm going to practice them like triplets. Ta 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 ta. Now it's not going to line up quite perfectly, but that's okay. It's going to kind of give my brain a challenge. So starting on that E pickup, and I would do that a bunch of times. So I'm just kind of, my fingers are playing the same notes in the same order, but different groupings. So it keeps my brain engaged and keeps me from getting bored with repetition exercises. Okay, and then as you get faster, then the last thing I would suggest as you're backing up and reviewing and practicing is to make sure you have mapped out where you are going to breathe. Make sure that the breath becomes part of your technique. A lot of times we just sort of breathe whenever we make a mistake, and that's a little dangerous because sometimes your brain thinks you need a breath and it's going to make you play a mistake so that you are forced to breathe. You don't want that. So make sure you've mapped out where you want to breathe. And honestly, wherever you want to breathe is fine as long as it's quick and doesn't interfere with other things. So I personally like to take a quick breath before that last giant slur on the last line. I like to take a quick one before that G sharp. I also like to take a breath right where we ended, that pickup before the high E going into the last line. I like to breathe right there. Other than that, I just sort of breathe where the rests are and hope for the best. Another great way to practice things in terms of different grouping is one of the things I like to call one measure, 7 ways. And I'm going to take the 3rd line, last measure, those broken intervals that are really tricky, and I'm going to play those 2 measures, the last 2 measures of the 3rd line, I'm going to play them 7 different ways. So the first time I'm going to play them is nice and soft. Sorry, nice and slow. And make sure I try to bake that crescendo into it. And then the second time I'm going to play it, let's do groups of 2 slurred. Now I'm going to play every other note double tongue. And now I'm going to do it swing. And then let's try it all legato with a gorgeous sound. And then just for the heck of it, Let's play them in triplets. And then I'm just gonna give it a shot and see how it is. Oh, I played a C sharp in there, sorry. So keeping it varied, whether it's the rhythm or the style or the articulation or the tempo, really is important to do that repetitive practicing without getting bored and getting frustrated. So again, practice from the back and then work your way backwards through the piece. Map out your breaths, certainly important, and vary the way that you're repeating your practice. Best of luck to you, and as always, if you have any additional questions, feel free to contact me at julie.hobbs@uky.edu. Happy fluting!